Hey everyone, how are we going? It's Casey here. I'm just waiting for last couple of people to join and then we'll get started. So just give me 1 second. I'm just going to set up my screen. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I think we've got a few thumbs up there. So but let me know if you can't. Otherwise, this is all recorded. All recordings go up on our help page, which I'll show everyone where that is tonight as well. So I've just got the last couple of people joining and then we'll get going. Just setting up my screen 1 second. All right, I think pretty much everyone's joined. We're good to go. I'm just finishing off. Just wanted to show everyone a couple of things tonight. So PBS authorities, then I was going to give everyone a quick look at our clinic dashboards and portals and a few things like that. So let me just share my screen and I'll show you a couple of things. Yep, last people joined. Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's get going. So everyone can hopefully see my screen. Excellent. Oh, and feel free to ask questions. We do have a chat. Everyone's note takers here, so excellent. Yeah, feel free to put some questions in the chat. Any issues or bugs or things that you've found, please let me know. Always happy to hear those. And we'll go through a couple of things. So my screen is shared. So first things first, just to run through. Let me go to this one. Run through a couple of things. This is the app as it currently stands. What I wanted to show you was two things. One was our companion window, which I've sneakily hid down here. Essentially what it is, it's an always on top window. So if you have best practice, it'll sit in the background and it just makes it easier to start your consult, do anything that you need to do, access PBS authorities and things like that. So it sits as an always on top window. That's the way that I use it with my best practice. The other way to use it, as in an external AI like MBSPro, any other AI would probably be similar, is having your two screens. My remote desktop, that's okay. Having two monitors, so you might have one monitor with your best practice on, the other monitor with your, Chrome, AI, Scribe, ETG, so on and so forth. So that's an easy way of doing those things. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you just quickly while I've got it here was the PBS authorities. So the way that it works is you bring up your clinical copilot. The copilot sits in, if I just move my always on top screen, sits over the right-hand side. So you can see here there's a couple of things like smart goals, cycles of care, resources, and the little pill. Makes sense, I guess. Medications for PBS authorities. You can click that, and what it will do is it will bring out a panel, this blue panel, which is our clinical copilot. This is where we're going to be putting all of our new features as we bring them out. So we're bringing out an evidence-based medicine module, which will replace the resource module. So it'll be an updated version of that where you can find updated guidelines much easier than what it currently is. And then we'll be looking at combining our smart goals and cycles of care into an improved care planning module. And then hopefully we're in discussions, early discussions with BP. We'll be putting in some clinical data in this module from the actual patient that you integrated with to make things a lot easier. So working through those things, who knows if that'll happen, but that's what I'm crossing my fingers for. So let me give a demonstration of how PBS Authority works. You bring out your PBS module, you put in, well, first of all, you connect Proto. You can see my one is connected already. You can log out, but if you log in, it usually stays logged in for a lot longer. So this one here has been logged on for about a week. In terms of why does it log on for so long, I think there's a couple of reasons. One, you're sort of logging into MBSPro anyway, so there's an extra layer of security, anyway, and therefore, logging in every 15 minutes sort of doesn't make any sense because you've already logged in once to the actual app itself. Two, it's probably because of the way that you would use MBSPro. You always start consults, stop consults, move between patients, so it detects that as movement and such that you're always using, the Proda environment. So they're the two main reasons why I think it's staying logged on, or it's just a bug and it just stays logged on. I don't know, but it actually does stay logged on for about a week at a time, so it's significantly easier. You can tell it's logged on because we have this green dot. If it's not logged on, it'll be red. When you click the log on button, it just brings up the normal Proda log on screen, which is this one, just in an extra window, and asks you to log on as you normally would with two-factor authentication. Then if you've got best practice integration, the current patient that you've loaded up, their details will load into the Medicare item for the patient details, so their Medicare number, their patient name, etc. You'll get a green tick because you've done those details. When you put in the prescriber number, you'll get a green tick, so it goes green because I've just written anything. But when you write a number, that'll go green, meaning you've done that component. You can then select which item you want, so Nexium, or you may have noticed there, we now have the ability to favorite items. So if you want to prescribe, let me see if I can spell it right, Vyvanse, say 70 milligrams, whatever, I'll add that to my favorites. So whenever I click here, it's easy to access. Now, the main reason why you would do that is, for example, if you're prescribing Targin, you know that there's multiple different items of Targin, and it can be difficult to find the right one. So there's a 15 for palliative care and a 15 for chronic pain. Chronic pain usually being the one with no repeats, and just the 28, so the 56. So when you click on something like Targin, this one, your restriction codes for severe pain are going to be different than the questions related to the restriction codes are going to be different than if it was palliative care. So for this one, for chronic pain, questions are more like, is it, I think it's, what is it? Yeah, here it is. It's for chronic severe pain, yes, continuous, yes, and has had or would have inadequate pain management with non-opioid or other opioids. So you answer the questions based on the restriction code. By favoriting which specific medication you're utilizing, it can be easier to delineate between, the palliative care option or the chronic severe pain option. You'll see that we've got a green tick there. We've got a green tick for our restriction codes. There's a bit of information, essentially, that we're required to provide you. So we do that in a quick to access box. You've got your questions to answer, and then you go agree, and then you go submit. I'm not going to submit that, one, because I don't have an authority prescriber number. Two, this is me, so I don't want to prescribe myself Targin, but that'll get flagged definitely. So you just go click, and then what you do is you'll get a little box here with the authentication code. You just copy and paste that into your best practice, and that's your script done. So it's significantly quicker because you don't have to have multiple logons, two multiple clicks to get to each page. So it's just, sort of one page. It's sort of all on the one page. We're hoping it's a little bit more streamlined because you've sort of got ticks about the information, so it makes a bit more sense. You've got your favorited medications in your item selection, so you can quickly, pick the ones that are the right ones. We're adding a little bit more to make it quicker still. So with the restriction codes, we're going to try and default these questions and answers. So if you go 10752, which is the chronic severe pain that they've had for quite a while, we'll select like what we think are probably defaults. Of course, your patient might be on less than 12 months. So we're going to do a little bit of that just to make it quicker. So hopefully you can select your medication from your favorite. It'll put in restriction codes and default answers to your questions, which of course you can check and change as you need it. So that's the idea behind it. If anyone's having any issues with it, please let me know, but it should work with anything that you can do through Proda, so any long-term script. So let's go back to our item selection. So we can change this to 56 and 2 repeats, and that is 2 daily. And that would give you your 3-month script that you'd usually do through Proda. Likewise, you can do your Vyvanse, your Norspan patches, your Nexium, so on and so forth. So anything you can do through Proda, you can do through this PBS authorities. Interestingly enough, I should show you an email. I'll show you in a little bit, but I got an email from PBS authorities today, wondering how it was going, because I think we're the first to have this sort of solution in any sort of app. And I was telling them that it was going well, and they were super excited and had a look at the data that people had been using it and thought it was amazing. So that was cool. That was a bit of a win. We're super happy with that. So that's how PBS Authority works. Hopefully that makes sense. So just to run through it quickly, you got to log on, put in all your details. Best practice integration pre-fills a lot of this, makes it a fair bit easier. You've got your favorite new medications, restriction codes, and then submit it. So it's significantly quicker. Just to quickly show you the other things in our clinical co-pilot, we've got our resources, which is just essentially a large list of curated resources from things like RCH, ECG, STI guidelines, DermNet, Gene Hales, Australian guidelines, essentially. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be changing this into more of a chatbot function. So instead of typing in menopause as a manual search or letting the AI search based on the context of your conversation, you'll be able to like ask it questions like, so what is the antibiotic recommendation for a patient with cellulitis who is allergic to penicillin? And it will just give you, step-by-step guidelines on how to treat that. So that'll be significantly more easier to use. Likewise, our SMART goals and cycles of care, we're going to join those up, hopefully with that clinical data that we'll have access to, and provide sort of recommendations on how you can treat patients with chronic diseases and recommended things based on their condition. So currently the way that it works is, let me just bring it up. So if a patient has type 2 diabetes, it'll bring up recommendations about rhythms of review or cadences of review. So someone with diabetes, you might do, sugars every couple of months. You might do an optometry review every year, ECG every year, so on and so forth. We're hoping to tie these in with like specific MBS items. So someone with type 2 diabetes, you're going to do your care plan. You're going to do your 699 health assessment. You're going to do your ECG. If we have access to some of this information, for example, they smoke, and we can grab that off best practice, we would then recommend things like spirometry every year, signing up to the CT chest, surveillance if they're in the right age group, so on and so forth. So there's a few things like that we're working on, not quite there yet. SMART goals that will quickly just generate different examples of SMART goals for your patient, so you can use these in your care plan. So care plans are accessible through create care plan, and this is where we have a lot of other things like referrals, custom document generation. So this is how I write my letters in support of public housing, NDIS, whatever, and it'll write you a letter based on the information that you've spoken about. So just quickly, that is the what did I say? The overlay window here. So it's an extension that you can get on Chrome. I'll just get out of that now. So if you go to the Chrome, I think it's called Shop, Chrome Web Store. There's two that I use. So you get the official MBSPro one, which is this one. And it looks like this. And you click on it and you go overlay and it'll open it up. The sidebar option opens it up like that. The reason why we've got two options is we are opening up, oops, okay, that's frozen my computer. Oh, we are, there we are, looking at integrating with certain things. So ZMed being one, where they have more of a sidebar, and MD as well is the other one that we're looking at integrating. So that is the PBS authorities. With the BP integration pre-fills, I'll just quickly add that if you've got the BP integration, the eligibility check also pre-fills, which makes it a fair bit quicker. So if you're checking if a patient has a care plan before, this is sort of the way to do it. Excellent. So that's that. Now, a couple other things that I want to show everyone was the clinic portal, AI receptionist, and a few things like that. Let me get out of these ones really quickly, and I'm just going to double check if there are any questions. Got a couple of questions there, and I think I've added in everyone. Excellent, excellent. Everyone is here. A couple of questions that I'll run through. Good. Let me just read. So about the favorites, is it the favorite for each patient or is it for user? It's for user, so it's not related to patients. So everything. So this is sort of a funny thing. Anything that we do within, AI and MBSPro, we don't relate it to patients because we don't keep any patient data, if that makes sense. So everything, when a patient comes into your room and you open the chart, and write the consult or record the consult, we stream it. That turns into a transcript that is then summarized, and that's your note. As soon as you press new consult, everything is deleted by default. I'll quickly show you. You can change your past consults to go 1 day or do not store or 7 days. So I do mine on 7 days, but you can change it to whatever you want. By default, it's deleted. So any sort of favorited or recommendation or something like that is just related to you as the individual. That'll come into play as we've got a new feature coming out called personalizations. So this is a way that we can significantly improve the accuracy of the note and make it more specific to the way that you write. So what that means is if you, for example, write type 2 diabetes as T2DM, it'll forever remember that, not based on the patient with type 2 diabetes, based on the way that you write your note about patients with type 2 diabetes, and therefore it will always write it as T2DM. If you always use numbers rather than words, 1, 2, 3, 4, or spelling out the whole word, like whatever you want to do. Or if there's a spelling mistake because the AI writes, Cefalexin, but spells it wrong or spells it an American way, we can correct that and it'll remember that forever. So that is all related to you as a user, not to the patient. So that'll be recommended. Did anyone see where the always on top screen came from? So it comes from it comes from Chrome Web Store. So you go Chrome Web Store. I use Google Chrome, and then you can put in your MBSPro, and then that's our official one that you can get there. But otherwise, let's go admit there. Excellent. I'm just admitting someone. Otherwise, yeah, that's where it comes. So Chrome Web Store, and you can search for it in there. Yeah, sometimes the window can be too small, so it depends on how your workflow is. So some people use it on two windows, and that's perfect. Does it now allow increased quantities for non-authority items? We're investigating that one. So that one was an issue that, thank you very much, Ian found for us. So the PBS authorities, it should allow increased quantities for authority items. We're just working out some kinks in it with non-authority items. If you have done it for one patient, you need to do it again. Will you be able to bring up the original one and just create a new set of repeats? So similar to Proto, how you can go like new script with the same patient, you can click a button after you finish one script. So if you're doing, 2 scripts, one for Nexi and one for Tarjan, you go new script, same patient. So there'll be a button at the bottom, and it'll just restart it, but keep all the patient details. Do you have to enter the patient details manually, like Medicare number, or will it auto-populate? If you're integrated, it will auto-populate. So what integrated means is that we pull your diary from best practice, and that lives in your waiting room, which I'm going to show you in a second. And then when you click onto that patient with their pre-consult, write your notes. If you need to do any PBS authorities or Medicare eligibility item checks, everything's pre-filled, makes it significantly quicker. Let's have it. Yeah. Looking at the chat now. Yeah. A few other questions. Do you have an extension for Microsoft Edge? I don't think we have a specific extension. However, everyone should be able to see my screen. The other one that is useful is called Companion Window. So it's another extension which does exactly the same thing as ours. And you should be able to use it. Yeah, Companion Window always on top. So you could get this one, and essentially, I'll show you what it looks like because I've got it as well. It is like this. Okay, it doesn't work because I'm on Teams, but it just opens up a new window. It's exactly the same. How do we integrate into BP? Okay, let me put this into the chat. This is our help page, and it's got heaps of videos. So you go to this and integration, and then we've got the BP integration here. So I'm going to put this into the chat. It's got all of the instructions on how to do it, plus a video that sort of walks you through. So let me put that into the chat right now. Excellent. That's how we integrate. Where do we find the BP ID? So when you first log on to best practice, in the square, we're going to put in your password and your username. On the left-hand side, there's your best practice ID, and we'll have it there. Yeah. Excellent. If it's integrated, do we store patient data? No, we don't. So we don't collect history. We don't do anything with previous notes. I think in the future, so we don't do it, but I think in the future, the way AI is heading is that it will remember patients' notes, and that will actually make your next consults easier. I know that's sort of a bit scary in terms of privacy, etc. Currently, we don't. We delete everything as soon as you go into a new consult. Even with integration, nothing is kept. Anything that we do keep is well, we don't keep anything related to clinical data. We keep some billing history for the dashboards, which I'll show you in a second. That's just things like 23s, 36s, etc. How does Keflex keep propagating? Yeah, I don't know. Is MBS splits working? No, that one aired out today, unfortunately. So we're looking. The developers know about that one. We're looking at that one. We had quite a few people that liked it. Any chance you could look at the last script to determine which authority item to choose? That's a good one. Not 100% sure. We could try and implement that. So lots of duplication in the waiting room. We are rolling out a new waiting room, which will be on hopefully in the next week, and that'll make it a bit easier. Yeah, there's a boy Keflex and a girl Keflex. So that's what the personalizations. Now, let me show you the new UI and therefore the new waiting room. So this is what it's going to look like, hopefully in the next week. So it's a new redesigned user interface with sort of like these tabs and sort of like chips, we call them. The resource section, the care plan section, which will have your cycles of care and your SMART goals, PBS authorities. This resources will change into an evidence-based medicine, chatbot. We've got that working in our test environment, and then of course your MBS codes, your ARCS MBS helper, your ProtoCheck, so on and so forth. The other thing that we're adding in, which I wanted to really try and show you, but it wasn't quite ready tonight, is the personalization. So that'll be a little button down here. What it'll mean is once you've finished your note and your note generates here, so say, this is just a quick note, just pretend that this has been generated, 53-year-old type 2 diabetes, past medical history, MI. Essentially what it means, you'll edit it and you go, actually, no, I want this to be like this. And then it'll remember it. So you get a little personalization tab that'll come up and it'll remember the change that you've made. And then it'll always do that from then on for your patients. So that'll be a great, really good one. So super excited about that one. Let me quickly go to the integration tab. You can go to BP integration here. You can put in your details, so your site ID, name, provider number, etc., and whether or not you want the SMS consultation to go out. In the new user interface, you do have the ability to customize the pre-consult, so you can ask not specific questions. So it's not going to you can't just get it to ask questions you want it to ask, but you can take out certain questions that we've pre-populated and sort of add some others and things like that. So it's not as it's not like super customizable, but it's more customizable. Remembering you've also got all your scribe settings, and then you've got your consent text that enters at the bottom of your note. You can change that to consented patient, written consent. We've just got it as verbally consented. Remember, you've got all your different languages. You've got your different models which we're updating, and your detail level, so you can change that if you want low or high detail, etc. Now let me quickly show you, was it in here, scribe templates? No, I don't think it was in here. It was the waiting room and dashboards. Here we are. So this is what let me make this full screen. This is what the new waiting room user interface looks like. So I've just blurred some things out. Better item recognition, better letting you know when things are due. So something's due in 1 week, letting you know when 10997s, etc. are due. We'll be improving this top bar here with the MBS opportunities. And when we add in our clinic portal, which I'll show you in a second, the idea is that nurses will be able to log on and see, these are all the things that are due for these patients and just make it easier to get done. A couple of things I'll walk you through. With each patient, they'll get set a pre-consult if you want them to, of course. And they'll be able to consent to the AI use, which is this little icon here. So if it's got a green tick, you can see down here, this patient has consented. That just makes it a bit easier in terms of, talking to your patient every single time. We're using AI, etc. They've been consented and they're happy with it. Now, you'll see not everyone fills it out because not everyone fills out the pre-consult. So it's still going to be a little bit of a manual process, but the idea is that as your patients get used to it, they'll just go, yep, sounds good, awesome, doesn't, it's cool. The other thing we've got is this little time icon. What this does is this will let you know if you've ran overtime with this patient. So we see the patient data on best practice and we can see how long your previous consults are. We average that and then say, look, you've got a 15-minute appointment and usually you do 21 minutes. So you have 6 minutes overtime. Previous appointment was 14 minutes. We're going to collate that a bit better and put it up the top here. So you've got, 8 hours of appointments, but your average times are such that you are going to finish in 9 hours. So you'll know that you sort of need to get things done, get your skates on, etc. So that'll make this, waiting room more useful. This is the dashboards. So let me just show you where they live. They live in here. So you go my dashboards. Currently, I think they're called practice dashboards or something like that. But my dashboards, changing user interface layout, improved data collection. So you can change your dates in terms of this week or this month or just today and tomorrow or something like that, and it'll give you all the analytics in terms of revenue per hour, daily billings, CDM billings, GP share calculator. We're going to add in, we're going to call it like billing efficiency. So all the items that are available for a patient versus how many have been billed, as a metric of, how well are you utilizing all the item numbers that are available. The idea behind this, it would never be 100%. No one's going to use 100% of all items. You'd be there for an hour doing all the things that are due, but the idea is that it's just a metric that you can track. So probably someone that's a registrar, they're going to be using 20 or 30% of the items that are available, whereas someone who's a bit more seasoned, regular patients, it might be up to 60 or 70%. It'd be pretty hard to get to 100%, but that's the idea. This is your daily billing list. I've just covered out a couple of things. It does what our daily billing list does is a couple of things. So one, will notify you of time spent with the patient. So you build a level 3, you've spent 5 minutes, that's awesome, that's good. Or you've built a 23, but you've only spent 5 minutes, and we'll just flag, it's below the recommended length. We let you know. This doesn't get sent anywhere, of course. Like no one else knows about this. This is just to give you an idea of how things are going. We also tally up your MBS item numbers, so that you'll know if you're approaching 80-20 rule. So 80-20 rule being that you can't provide more than 80 services 20 days in a 365-day period, and we exclude all nurse item numbers, bulk billing item numbers, so on and so forth. If you've done any item numbers that include nurse time, we just sort of flag it in a way to say, hey, there's some nurse time. We can't see the time that your nurses have spent because the nurse may not have even spent that time that day. It could have been a week before, a day before, something like that. But we just flag and say, hey, you've done these items. Just be aware that there is nurse time that would probably need to contribute. We also add some just recommended time frames, so things like care plans. So we sort of put it as 10 minutes. There is no time frame on a care plan. So feedback about that. If you feel like we should take that off, we can take that off. That's just what I thought as sort of a flag to let people know. If that's good or bad, let me know. So that's what the new dashboards waiting room look like. Let me just answer a few more questions, and then we'll just have a quick look at the clinic portal. Okay, with those billing data collected, we'll be coming up with a semi-cubic extension. I mean, that would be great to have some sort of comparison, right? With MBSPro users, where you're sitting in terms of your data. Not there yet. That's something that we can look at, but that's a really good thought. When we are checking for entries, is the same way we can do find and replace. That's a good thought. We haven't got that in there, but yeah, we could add something like that. So those potential billings are proto checked or just from BP. So currently the proto check is currently the potential billings is just from best practice. We're going to add it in to be all proto checked. So all of those item numbers will have, so for example, we'll have like 967 and then like a green tick. So it's proto checked, you can bill it. It's not currently like that. Average wait times mean average overall. No, it's average to that individualized patient. So that's where we're hoping it'll be more valuable. So some patients, you spend more time with, they might be a mental health patient, so on and so forth. So it's individualized to that specific patient over their last 10 consults, I believe, which will be good, because the idea is that from a practice point of view, practice owner point of view, is that you're when we have the clinic portal up and running, which it isn't currently, your admin will log in and say, okay, Dr. Going is probably going to run an hour late today. I'll just flag that with reception staff that might have to hang around and sort of see. So the idea is to give you forewarning that this person's going to run late. Can we reschedule your patient? Can we do something to make it better? The next iteration, we're not currently there yet. The next iteration is text your patients. You're running half an hour late. We can let you know, and text your patients, say, look, you're going to be running late based on the metrics that we've got so far. So that's the next thing. Now, let me show you the clinic portal. Where am I? Right here. So this is the clinic portal. I think I've showed a few people about this. We're still just finalizing some details, but we think it'll be, really helpful. So essentially, there'll be some dashboards. This is just based on, your appointments that have come in during the day, week, month, quarter, calls that are coming in, trends of billings, trends of call times. So this is linking in with our AI receptionist, and also the dashboard. So a bit of both. So dashboards in terms of opportunities. The way that I see the dashboards is I think dashboards are really great. We can see all these item numbers that are due. We're linking them in with AI receptionist, because the AI receptionist will do like the recalls and reminders if you want it to, as in you'll say, okay, we've got 50 care plans due next Monday. Today is Wednesday. Let's get the AI receptionist to call those patients and get them into the nurses so that we can, bill those things, or 20 health assessments, so on and so forth. So that's what the dashboard will help with. Now we've got the front desk. The front desk is like your front desk. So this is where we have all our inbound calls. So patients call in. You can see a transcript of the call that happened. I'm here to book an appointment. I want to see this doctor. These are my details, yada, yada, whatever. The reason why I would have this is that, for example, these ones have been booked. That's good. If this one was not determined, that might mean there was, an error. So we want to check up on that. Or it might mean that the patient was just calling up to see what the costs were or something like that, and they didn't want to book an appointment. That can just give us a metric of, how many calls are coming in versus how many booked appointments. Obviously, more booked appointments than not booked, and that's a metric that you can track and sort of improve. This is the knowledge base, so this is pretty straightforward. This is just all information about your specific clinic, how it works, opening hours, so on and so forth. This is your prompt builder. So essentially, this gives you an idea of your personality, environment, guidelines, guardrails. So obviously, you don't want your AI telling patients medical information or whatever, but you put in all your information specific to your clinic in clinic information prompt builder, and therefore your AI can answer a ton of different questions related to how your clinic works, when your doctors work, when are they available, when are they not available, days, things that they do, skins, etc. This doctor management portal, there's going to be two tabs here, so it's not quite built out. So one is for the AI receptionist. The second one is for just adding in all your doctors via one area. So it'll be a lot more streamlined. So as you as a clinic, want to purchase these things for your doctors, you can just simply enable it, disable it, and just make it easier to fill that out. And then this is another thing we're really excited about. This is our rescheduling agent. So essentially the way this works is it's outbound components. So inbound, patients call you to book appointment. Outbound is for your doctor's sick, your doctor's away, or your doctor wants you to book in for your flu shot or your health assessment or your care plan or whatever. So essentially add a new campaign. Say your doctor is sick. So let me select the doctor, or your doctor's going on holidays or whatever. So you'd select the time frames that your doctor is away for. Say the doctor is unavailable. It'll fetch all those patients in best practice, and then essentially you can run a campaign saying that you want to call from the Condamine Medical Center. That's my clinic. Call them 3 times over a day, or call them 3 times in half an hour, because the doctor had called in sick 10 minutes before they were going to see the first patient, and you got to call all of these patients at once. So the good thing about the AI is it can do that. It can call everyone at once, instead of working through a list of 30. So you can say start your call at, let's say 12 a.m. Probably not midnight, but start it at 9 o'clock or whenever your time is. You have a fallback. Doctor is sick, ill, away on holidays, and then you can just continue, review your campaign. So it's doctor unavailable. You're going to give them 3 calls. You're going to call them every 3 minutes because it's an urgent one or whatever. And then you just run your campaign or call everyone. So call everyone for the health assessments, call everyone for the care plans, or call everyone for their health assessment or care plan or medication review or whatever it is. And then we've got our document scanner. So this document scanner is just for sorting things into your inbox. So if you have emails incoming, scanning incoming, faxes incoming, anything that's incoming, putting it into the doctor's inbox using an agentic AI makes it a lot quicker. So this portal we're hoping to roll it out in the next couple of weeks. We're still doing a bit of testing, so bear with us. But the idea, from my point of view, is that all of these things are probably interconnected. So you have an AI that picks out MBS codes that are available, or can just see it from the previous billing history. If we can see that all these patients are due for things from our our waiting room, so I can see I've got 13 699s available, couple 75 health assessments, 715, etc. I'm probably not going to do them all in one day, but I can use my AI receptionist to call the patient, call them back in, provide really great care, and have regular reviews with the patients, and can automate most of that process with AI. So let me answer a few more questions. There's a few more in the chat. Yeah. So yeah, 81 cents did not attend rate. Look, it's a cheap clinic. Okay. Is there a demo for the AI reception in terms of the receptionist giving a call to the patient? Yeah, I can give you a phone number to call. Let me put my email in. Send me an email and I'll give you the phone number to call. There's my email. I'll put that in there, and that's fine. A few other questions. Where are we? Where are we here? Okay. Yeah, so ARSF is great to have auto call system in place for workflow efficiency, but doesn't clinician need to confirm clinically necessary and then call? Yeah. So there'll still be a lot of clinician input, and certainly we'll work through that. Gee, imagine hacking into this. Yeah. That's why we've got a lot of security. All these included in the subscription. So the subscription is the AI scribe part, which is sort of MBSPro is using it now, and then the AI receptionist will be separate. They will join and talk to each other, but the subscription for the receptionist would be different. So how does MBSPro integrate with phone system and email scan? So currently it's through. So we've got a partner. You probably heard it, AJ ASAP Telecom. So he helps us set up the SIP trunks and things like that. So 3CX is what my phone system uses, and it can divert in and out of that phone system as needed. And then the scan documents. So all of it just integrates with your phone system, your best practice, and because it's integrated with BP, and that's all been confirmed. So we're all good with that. We're just testing it and just fine tuning a bit more. Does everyone in the clinic need to be on MBSPro to be able to access these features? No, you can just have individual, and that's fine. Where does the outstanding debt come from? So that particular one, it's a test environment, so that's 100% made up. That's not connected to my clinic, so that's our test one, and the idea is it would come from best practice. So we're working on that part. Because the idea is that it would call your debtors and say, hey, you owe us some money. How does this differ from Samantha? So, I mean, the main way it differs from Samantha is, so one, we're going to give the document scanner away for free for a very long extended trial. The reason why doing that is hopefully you'll like it. You'll like the clinic portal, the dashboards, etc., and then buy the AI receptionist. But it's the same. All documents sorters are the same way. Does the document already need to be in BP? No, it doesn't. So it's just anything that's sort of incoming. So it can be diverted into this, which then diverts it into your inbox. So you can have a whole heap of documents that are sitting on your desktop as PDFs, and then you just upload them. Let me go back to my screen here. So you just upload them. So you might have a folder and you just upload everything, and then your 10, 20 files, whatever, and then it'll go through and identify them. So you can see it's got its identifiers, and then it'll just sort it into the inbox. So that one is nearly. Will you be offering a burger with a lot rate? Of course. That's the idea, is that we put it all together. It's one system. You don't need all these logons. It's one thing that does it. So that's the idea. That's what we want to create. It's based off. It's based off. I think our experience as GPs, we've got like 10 million bloody things to log on to. We're trying to just make it easier. So that's the idea. We're working on it, and we think a lot of these things are probably interconnected. And can help each other. So that's the idea. So any last questions? I think we've done really well. This is all recorded, so it'll go on to our help page. So let me just quickly show you that. This is the BP integration help page, but it's got a ton of information here about everything. All of our masterclasses go here. So this is the last 4 that have gone through things like template creation, best practice integration, a few things like that. So it'll go up here. And you can watch it as many times as you like. And all good. Yep. So AR receptions, how much is it? We're figuring out the pricing. What we're aiming for is somewhere between like $2.50 to $5 like per reception hour as a comparison. So, you pay your receptionist, 25, $30 an hour. Our receptionist would be, significantly cheaper. That's an aim. We're sort of figuring it out. So, bear with us. Certainly when we're going to roll it out, we're going to roll it out a few clinics like completely free. We've got some credits, so it's not going to cost us, but we just want to get it right for you as the clinics and, get it right. I still want to know how to hack in to cancel all my opposition patients for the day. I'll figure out that one. We'll get that one. We'll get that one sorted. That'll be in the next update. All good. I think we've got all the questions. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can see sort of the vision of where it's going and how to pull everything together. The term that gets thrown around a bit is like an AI care partner, and that's sort of what we're wanting this to develop into. So hopefully that's all good. Otherwise, I'll stop sharing. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining. Appreciate your time. I know it's late at night, and we'll catch up in the next one. Thanks, everyone. Leave you to it. Bye-bye.